What's up everyone, welcome back to another What If video. In the last part, we took a look at how Kakarot and Raditz being twins would affect the Red Ribbon Army arc, or at least what's left of it. They were able to make progress through the Red Ribbon Army's base, and eventually, they encounter Mercenary Tao. Kakarot, Raditz, Krillin, and Chi-Chi now face the Mercenary. Let's start off from here. So as you could probably tell, this fight's pretty much stacked in one direction. The group of kids not only have strength in numbers, but they're able to actually overpower Tao. Tao fights and he's very skilled and he's able to hold his own for a bit, but eventually he begins getting desperate. He even decides to break out a sword, but it doesn't really do anything against the kids. It's a pretty short battle, and then eventually he breaks out a grenade, trying to blow the kids up if he can't kill them himself. Too bad for him though, the kids are fast enough to react and kick the grenade up towards him, and it explodes in his face. Well, that wasn't really that hard. With Tao out of the way, the kids can now progress further into the base. Eventually, they meet up with Officer Black, who's already killed Red. Not too much changes here either. Officer Black brings out his robot, but it's not any match for the kids. Krillin acts as bait for it by getting in close, serving as a distraction for Kakarot and Raditz to attack the robot. He begins getting sloppy after all the attacks, but then eventually, Chi-Chi's able to charge up a massive laser with her helmet, which tears right through the robot. Together, the four of them all launch a massive assault on the robot, and they defeat him with basically no difficulty. You know, considering they just wiped out an entire army, that wasn't too bad. They did it with relative ease, and the army threw everything they got at them, but it didn't really work in the end. Interestingly enough, it seems the Red Ribbon Army already has some Dragon Balls. And since the army's basically gone, they decide why not take the Dragon Balls back to Korn's tower. They don't necessarily have any wishes right now, but they're gonna bring them back just in case. It's better to have them safe. They're still missing one anyway, so they can't even make a wish if they wanted. They arrive back, and Upa and Bora thank everyone for their help. The Red Ribbon Army has finally been stopped, which not only saves Upa and Bora, but it will help the Earth as a whole. The Red Ribbon Army is completely gone now, and everyone can rest easily knowing that they won't have to deal with it any longer. And as a plus, the kids got some extra fighting experience. They did get their training with Korin, but this also helps out a bit. Upa and Bora take the Dragon Balls and thank everyone. They offer to protect them, and if they end up finding the last ball somehow, they'll be more than happy to give the Dragon Balls back to the kids so they can make whatever wish they want. Everyone's about to depart, but then they notice something strange coming towards the tower. No way. It's the Pilaf gang. They're back in action, coming back for the Dragon Balls. They come right towards the Korin tower, and that's a pretty big mistake for them because all the kids are there right now. They notice the kids and immediately turn back, knowing that they won't stand any chance against them. But Kakarot and Raditz are able to jump in front of their car and stop them. Out of fear for their life, they decide to just give them the Dragon Ball and get the hell out of there. Huh, well, I guess they have all the Dragon Balls now. If anything, their encounter with the Pilaf gang shows that by harboring the Dragon Balls, they'll just become a massive target. And now that they realize that, it doesn't really make sense to leave the Dragon Balls with Upa and Bora because then they'll just get in trouble because of it. Upa and Bora don't have any wishes, nor do Kakarot, Raditz, or Krillin. Not wanting to waste the Dragon Balls, Chi-Chi just decides that she'll make a wish, and she'll wish to restore her father's belongings that were destroyed before, since they can't really think of anything else to wish for. That's good news because now her home and Ox King's wealth are fully restored, and hopefully they won't have to deal with that fire any longer. Well, I guess now everything's solved and they could finally depart. Everyone splits up. Kakarot and Raditz go back with Grandpa Gohan, Krillin goes back with Roshi, and of course Chi-Chi's back with Ox King. There's now a little bit of time in between until the next World Tournament, and sometime in between this, Yamcha becomes a student of Master Roshi. There's no Fortune Teller Baba arc, and Yamcha hasn't been around, but I still feel like he'd pursue this. Knowing how strong Kakarot, Raditz, and Krillin are, he might as well try training with Roshi as well. Time passes and then we eventually arrive to the 22nd World Tournament. This time around, Raditz and Chi-Chi are in it. Raditz is obviously going to be there, and Chi-Chi's a lot closer with everyone, especially since her boyfriend slash fiance is there this time. You know, if you remember from a few parts ago when she proposed to Kakarot and he basically accepted it, and since she's been around them this whole time, of course she's going to be there. She does train and fight with the group a lot after all, so why not? In order to make some space for them, I'll say that Manwolf and Pamput are replaced by Raditz and Chi-Chi. And now we arrive to the start of the tournament. First off, we have Yamcha versus Ten Shinhan. And that doesn't really change at all, it goes relatively normal. The first really big change we see is when Raditz is versus Jackie Chun. Instead of him facing Manwolf, he's against one of his students. On par with Kakarot, Raditz is one of Roshi's strongest students, if not the strongest. While he had a hard time fighting his students in the last tournament, this time I think it's safe to say that Raditz has surpassed him. It's a hard fought battle, but Raditz is able to come out victorious. Roshi's not too concerned though because of Ten Shinhan. He feels that even if he doesn't make it to the finals, Ten Shinhan might be able to defeat them. However, something doesn't really sit right with him. Ten Shinhan using his powers for evil and going with Master Shen. In between the matches, he decides to have a talk with Ten Shinhan. Next up is Chaozu versus Krillin, and that goes pretty much the same as normal. And then after that, we have Chi-Chi versus Kakarot. Chi-Chi's been with the group this entire time and she's been doing a lot of training here, so she does put up a really good fight. But ultimately, it's safe to say that Kakarot's going to be ahead of her here. Once he kicks it into high gear, he's able to take her out and defeat her. Now we move on to the semifinals. Raditz versus Tenshinhan is the next match, and this is where things start to get really interesting. Tenshinhan gets to see how strong these kids really are, and is beginning to enjoy the fight now that he has someone on par with him to fight with. He didn't really get to see Kakarot go all out, but Raditz kinda did against Jackie Chun, and Tenshinhan was looking forward to fighting one of them. They're definitely going to be a worthy opponent. Like I mentioned earlier, Roshi didn't get to fight Tenshinhan, but he did get to talk to him in between the matches. And during this fight, the effects of that start to show. He was rejecting it at first, especially because he didn't actually get the experience of fighting Roshi, but the talk that they had still did sit with him a bit. He's very conflicted, just like usual. As a martial artist, is this really the right thing to do? He doesn't take Roshi as seriously though because he doesn't know it's actually Roshi, he only knows it's Jackie Chun. Since they didn't get to fight, Tenshinhan probably wouldn't even listen to Roshi if he revealed his true identity, and he does hear Jackie Chun's words but he doesn't really care as much. The fight is really close, both of them start ramping up. Eventually, Shen tells him to kill Raditz, and even has Chaozu help by stunning the kid. Tenshinhan's confused but then he realizes what's going on, and he tells him to stop it. He wants the fight to be fair so he could feel like he truly won, otherwise he has no pride at all. Even though his talk with Roshi before wasn't as impactful, he's still impressed by Raditz and that makes him fight fairly for the sake of his pride. If he just kills Raditz now, he won't feel like that he truly won. So he could start going all out and actually start fighting seriously. This is actually the turning point for him. The match is actually really long. Both Ten and Raditz break out all of their abilities. In terms of ability, I say Tenshinhan is better, but in terms of strength, Raditz is better. Although the gap between both those skills isn't really too big. That's what makes it so close and why the fight is dragged out so long. Eventually, Raditz surprisingly is able to take the win. Both he and Ten are exhausted, but Ten's actually very glad about this outcome. It really gives him a new perspective, and he thanks Raditz for showing him a great fight. Although he did have to betray his master, he does realize that this is the proper way for him to walk in life. This is the beginning of his change as a person. Next up, we have Kakarot vs Krillin, and there is an obvious outcome here. Kakarot takes the win pretty much like normal, and once again, that leads to a match between the two brothers, Kakarot and Raditz. However, this time, it takes place in the finals instead of the semifinals. Roshi's a little bit concerned, because that means one of his students is going to win the tournament, and they might not learn the same lesson, but overall, he's seen how much they've matured, so he's not too sure if he even needs to worry about that. It still does sit with him though. Just like Raditz vs Tenshinhan, this matchup is exhilarating. The same brotherly matchup that we saw before is back again, but at a whole new level. Kakarot assures Raditz that he won't lose this time, while Raditz promises to prevail over his brother once again. As brothers, they don't hold back. They go at each other right away, and begin ramping up quickly. Everyone watching in the crowd is amazed. Roshi, Yamcha, Krillin, Tenshinhan, Chaozu, everyone. This is truly a spectacle to be watching. The fight is also relatively long, and it's very evenly matched. However, there is one thing that I'm going to say is going to be a deciding factor. Well, with Raditz's match against Tenshinhan, if he was able to heal up somehow after that, that could mean that Raditz got somewhat of a Zenkai after the battle, and he could be ahead of Kakarot right now in terms of strength. In terms of ability, they're evenly matched, but if Raditz gets ahead in strength, that means he might actually be able to win here. However, I don't really know if he'd get the chance to heal, or at least heal fully. Sure, he'd have some time to rest up in between the matches and get some food, but I don't think he's going to fully heal and get the effects of the Zenkai just yet. The match would be really close and it could honestly go either way, but because of the fact that Raditz was just in a major fight and potentially hasn't fully healed yet, I'm going to say that Kakarot is able to win, but only barely. Kakarot's amazed that he was able to win, and he thanks his brother for the great fight. Everyone meets up after the tournament and decides to go off on their own again to train. However, Kakarot and Raditz forgot their power pole back at the tournament, so they decide that they want to go get it, but Krillin decides that he's going to instead because they seem a little bit tired, and he wants to help them out. And he comes back alive! He's not dead this time from Tambourine because they don't have any Dragon Balls with them. Everyone splits up once again and goes back to living their normal lives. Not long after though, Roshi sees something on TV that terrifies him. Murders have been taking place across the world, and there's only been one thing left behind, the symbol of King Piccolo, which Roshi immediately recognizes. And some of the people that were murdered actually were from the World Tournament. It could be a coincidence, but this obviously doesn't sit well with Roshi. He immediately pieces together that King Piccolo's back, and he's going around targeting World Tournament contestants. Thankfully for him, they don't know his true identity, but that means his students are in danger. including 2 of his newest students, Tenshinhan and Chaozu, who just recently joined him. Due to him being defeated this time around, and also given the fact that they're not immediately thrown into battle against King Piccolo, Ten and Chaozu decide to join Master Roshi to see how Kakarot and Raditz got so strong. Maybe they could learn a thing or two, and one day Ten could fight Raditz again and beat him. So of course they're on the island right now once Roshi hears the news about King Piccolo. He's not sure what to do, but all he knows is that he does have to stop King Piccolo. On his island, he gathers his students, and eventually he contacts Gohan, who then brings Kakarot and Raditz over to the scene. Luckily, Bulma's there too, and then she points something out. She just so happened to have a dragon radar with her, as she never let go of it because Kakarot didn't take it. And she points out that on the radar, a bunch of Dragon Balls are together, almost all 7 of them. This can't be any coincidence. It seems like King Piccolo's probably trying to gather the Dragon Balls for himself. It's worse than Roshi expected. He doesn't want his students going towards Piccolo immediately. He has to come up with some game plan. In order to prepare, Kakarot, Raditz, and Krillin suggest the idea of getting some Senzu beans, in case they face a harsh battle and need to be healed. On top of that, they could seek out one of the Dragon Balls for themselves, and keep it away from King Piccolo. First, they decide to stop by Korin's tower, where he's nervous about them trying to go and fight King Piccolo. He knows how strong they are in comparison and doesn't think they're ready for it yet. They know all too well from Master Roshi about how powerful King Piccolo is, but they're still gonna fight anyways because otherwise, Earth is doomed. Korin then has a suggestion, the Ultra Divine Water. Maybe if one of them tries to drink it, they might be strong enough to actually fight King Piccolo. This is where we'll leave off for now. So who do you think will drink the Ultra Divine Water? Do you think they'll have a shot at defeating King Piccolo, or is it doomed from the start? Leave your thoughts and suggestions in the comments below, and I'll be sure to check them out to see what you guys think. As always, if you liked the video, be sure to drop a like, and if you haven't already, why not subscribe, as well as hitting the bell icon to get notified about any future parts of this What If, as well as any other videos that I upload on this channel. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you on my next video.